Today, aviation's greatest innovation is speed, getting from point A to point B as fast as possible. But what if I told you there was a time where air travel was focused on elegance and luxury, not speed? In today's video, we are going to talk about aviation's forgotten luxury flying boats and why they were invented, flown, and why they didn't last long. To understand the flying boat, we need to go back to the 1930s. Land-based airliners like the famous Douglas DC-3 could fly across continents, but they had a huge problem crossing the ocean. To carry enough fuel for a transoceanic flight, you needed massive, heavy airplanes, and those massive planes required huge reinforced concrete runways. In the 1930s, these types of runways simply didn't exist in the remote island stops needed for refueling across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The solution? Make the ocean your runway. By building the fuselage to act like a boat hull, every sheltered harbor and bay in the world became an airport. This is what gave birth to the spectacular multi-engine Clipper flying boats. The concept of the flying boat actually began in Europe. The first machine to truly stun the world with its size was the German Dornier DOX. Launched in 1929, this behemoth was, for a short time, the largest aircraft in the world. It was a marketing spectacle designed to look like a true luxury ship with 3 separate decks, including a smoking room, bar, and a dining room. Along with all this, the DOX could carry up to 100 people. However, with its complex arrangement of 12 engines, the DOX was extremely underpowered and lost more profit than gained. Only 3 were ever built, but it showed the world what was technically possible. The first serious steps into commercial transoceanic service was taken by Pan American World Airways, better known as Pan Am, led by legendary Juan Trippe. Pan Am first conquered South America and began its long-range testing using the Sikorsky S-42 Clipper. Entering service in 1934, the S-42 was a record-breaking aircraft that set multiple world records for speed and range. It seated around 32 passengers for long-haul routes and proved that Pan Am's idea of connecting distant points with air travel was possible. The S-42 was also the first aircraft to bear the Clipper name, which since then was written on all Pan Am aircraft. It was the S-42 that established the initial Trans-Pacific survey routes. The success of the S-42 led to the Martin M130. Launched in 1935, the M130 became known as the China Clipper. It was built specifically to fly the famous 8,000-mile Pacific route from San Francisco, hopping across Hawaii, Midway, Wake Island, and Guam before arriving in Hong Kong, China. This journey, which took weeks by ship, was reduced to just a few days of luxurious flying. It was truly the golden age of trans-Pacific travel. While the M130 ruled the Pacific, the demand for transatlantic routes drove manufacturers to build even bigger and more elaborate aircraft. Pan Am needed an aircraft across the Atlantic, and the Boeing 314 Clipper was the result. The most famous of all the boats, the 314 first flew in 1938, and it was gigantic, wider than a modern 747-8, and it had a range over 3,500 miles. A typical transatlantic flight carried only 36 passengers on a multi-day journey. Instead of simple seats, passengers enjoyed a 14-seat dining room, private cabins, and a separate lounge. At night, the cabins converted into sleeper berths, making the plane a flying luxury hotel. The Boeing 314 was also the first airplane to ever feature 2 decks on top of each other. Heading back to Europe, the British were building their own legacy. The Short Empire flying boats were developed by the Short brothers. Having multiple versions, these reliable boats connected Europe to Africa, India, and Australia. They were built for efficient long-haul service, having large cabins, smoking rooms, and the only flying boat that could operate in all climates. They were possibly the most successful of all the luxury flying boats, serving until the mid-1940s. The most popular version, the Short S-23 Sunderland, became the backbone of most pre-war routes. The Sunderland was also known for a reliable World War II transport and patrol craft. However, the flying boat era was sadly brief. The reason for their disappearance is simple, and it all comes down to one major event, World War II. When the war broke out, militaries needed massive runways built quickly all over the world to fly in heavy bombers and transport aircraft. After the war ended, these thousands of military air bases were immediately converted for commercial use. Suddenly, the flying boat's single greatest advantage, the ability to take off from water, vanished. Land planes like the Douglas DC-4 and Lockheed Constellation were lighter, faster, and cheaper to maintain, and could fly higher than the boats. The luxury of the flying boat simply couldn't compete with the new generation of long-range land-based airliners. The last commercial flight of the mighty Boeing 314 was in 1946, retiring barely 8 years after it first flew. Just like that, an entire type of air travel was wiped out not even 10 years after its introduction. Today, not a single original Boeing 314, Martin M130, Dornier DOX, Sikorsky S-42, or Short Empire remains. However, the related Short Sunderland military version survived longer, and one even flew until 1990. And at the Fonas Flying Boat Museum in Ireland, a full-scale replica of the Boeing 314 exists, offering the closest experience to the real aircraft. Did you know about the lost luxury of the flying boats? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and with that, long live the Clippers, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!